Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Sister Sister, a podcast for spiritual baddies. We're your hosts, Ellen and Maya, and today's episode is
Art as magic. So we're going to quite literally be talking about witch space crafts, but in a little bit more serious light than that. So just to kind of preface this episode, because there's not really any exact source material, there's a few books on this, but not a ton. We did go through several different blogs of people who actually use art in their witchcraft practice. So that's where a lot of this information is going to be coming from. So take it with a grain of salt. If it's not something you would do, don't do it. There's that. So we're going to start with the connection between art and magic. Art is something you create. It comes from your mind, your soul, and is a product of your skill and knowledge of the materials with which you work. Casting a spell is very similar, as you are bringing into reality something that exists only in your mind, your soul, by applying your skills as a witch or magician, depending on what term you prefer, to the knowledge you have of whatever ingredients and tools you are using to manifest your will. So it stands to reason that you can use your artistic mediums to manifest your desires. And that is defined by Amanda Wilson, who is an author and witchcraft practitioner. Then we kind of have another look at this by Morwena Artio. So she explains how she uses a combination of art and witchcraft in her personal practice. As both an artist and a witch myself, the connection between creativity and spirituality serves as the cornerstone of my practice. The craft, as I like to call it, is a combination of these two elements. Creation and magic are inseparable, intricately woven together in a web that is uniquely mine. Establishing dedicated practices and nurturing rituals then becomes essential to maintain the flow and keep the creativity going. Fortunately, I've had plenty of time to cultivate such rituals throughout my journey as an art witch. And then she also, it says in the article too that she's going to invite you to share within her practices that she's designed specifically to infuse the creative spirit with renewed energy and magic. And a lot of these she already does use in her own practice, and we actually will be, looking at a few of those later on.
now let's talk about some commonalities between art and magic. Uses and strengths in imagination, involves creative problem thinking, connects to the world around us, sharpens our attention to detail, enhances memory and focus, uses symbolism, and expresses and shares ideas. So these are a few of the common things between both. Now we can go right into artists and rituals. So artists are creatures of ritual, many choosing workspaces that are intimate and comfortable, and they feather these nests with colorful bottles, well-used instruments of their craft, and symbols and images of inspiration. They have trusted methods of creation. Perhaps they only work in the morning when the light is best, or only at night when it's quiet. Time and time again, they return to rituals that produce favorable results. Maybe a certain music is a must, or paint, or candles, or incense. Being in the zone is a common term used by artists to describe the deep concentration and almost surreal euphoria that comes on when your hands and mind are working in perfect harmony to create, according to S.L. Bear, occultist and artist.
So, much like any form of witchcraft, you can, create a sacred space for your artistry. So the first step on, the journey of creating a sacred space dedicated to nurturing your creativity is to find a specific place for your craft, not just a physical location, but a symbolic representation of your commitment to your artistic journey. Within it, create an altar adorned with symbols and objects chosen deliberately to resonate with your creative pursuits. If you're a writer, you might have a crystal of aragonite. If you are a painter, you might have a crystal of fluorite. I just added that in because I'm the person who knows all about crystals. This could be anything that holds personal meaning, inspires creativity, or symbolizes aspects of your craft. The idea is to surround yourself with elements that evoke the essence of your creative energy. The sacred space serves as a focal point, a wellspring of motivation that can fuel your artistic endeavors, a reservoir of inspiration and magical energy to tap into. This intentional focus helps to cultivate a mindset that is conducive to creativity and innovation. Over time, as you continue to invest energy and intention into this space, it becomes a source from which you can draw creative energy whenever needed. And these recommendations also came from Morwenna.
Art intuition. Creating a form of artwork that heavily relies on intuition and emotion. Art is one of the deepest ways for humans to connect with one another and within themselves without having to use any actual words. When you sit down to sketch, paint, or sculpt, or create any art form, there isn't always a full plan. There's usually an idea that is formed for you to create the work of art, but there's also a certain level of intuition guiding you as you work through it. Setting your intentions. As with any type of spell work, it's always important to set your intention before beginning. You can do so by taking some time to first clear your mind and focus on what it is that you want to create. Having a dedicated sacred space to go to for this intention setting can really help to get the creative juices flowing.
So now we're actually going to talk about how to incorporate art into your witchcraft practice. So first we have some simple tips from Laura Tempest Zakroff. She's a professional artist and witchcraft practitioner. So this is just like a quick little bullet list. So when you're carving and dressing a candle with a specific intention, choosing symbols, colors, and other items with which to adorn the candle, that can be an art form. When you're setting a room for a ritual, building an atmosphere by the use of color, sound, light, scent, garments, and decoration. When you're drawing sigils and other symbols on your body as wards of protection, empowerment, and healing, can also do that around your home. When you're doing a guided meditation or other form of visualization, kind of take some time to focus on like the creative aspects. When you're arranging your altar to reflect the seasons, celebrate festival, or honor deities, that can very much so be a form of art as magic. And when you dress or adorn yourself in certain colors and metals to tap into an energy, very much so goes back to the idea of glamour magic, but using that color magic also is an art form, and fashion design is an art form as well. So it's a little bit of overlap with the glamour magic episode.
Now we can talk about color magic, which we also have talked about really briefly in previous episodes. So you can try creating art with a certain color scheme in mind that will help to portray the feeling you want your art to provoke. Black for protection, warding negativity, removing hexes, spirit contact, truth, remove discord or confusion, and binding for spell work. Dark blue, the goddess, water elemental, truth, dreams, protection, change, meditation, and healing. Light blue, psychic awareness, intuition, opportunity, understanding, safe, journey, patience, tranquility, ward, depression, healing, and health. Brown, endurance, houses and homes, uncertainties, influencing friendships. Green, earth elemental, nature magic, luck, fertility, healing, balance, courage, work, prosperity, changing directions or attitudes. Indigo, meditation, spirit communication, karma workings, neutralizing baneful magic, and ward slander. Lilac, spiritual development, psychic growth and divination, and otherworldly items. Orange, the god, strength, healing, attracting things, vitality, adaptability, luck, encouragement, clearing the mind, justice, career goals, legal matters, selling, action, ambition, general success. Pink, honor, morality, friendships, emotional love, social ability, goodwill, caring, healing emotions, peace, affection, nurturing, romance, and partnerships. Purple, power, spirit, spiritual development, intuition, ambition, healing, wisdom, progress, business, spirit, communication, protection, occultism, and self assurance. Red, fire elemental, strength, power, energy, health, vigor, enthusiasm, courage, passion, sexuality, vibrancy, survival, and driving force. White, purity, protection, truth, meditation, peace, sincerity, justice, and to ward doubt and fear. Lastly, yellow, air elemental, divination, clairvoyance, mental alertness, intellect, memory, prosperity, learning, challenges, harmony, creativity, and self promotion.
So another way that you can really bring art and magic together is using crystal-infused paints, which I actually have a friend who is an artist who does this with her watercolor paintings. So there's a bunch of different online retailers that you can get them from. Some of them are specifically with mineral powder in them, and some of them actually have like fully crushed just crystals. And then usually you're going to find varieties of quartz. So there's going to be things like clear quartz, rose quartz, citrine, amethyst, because they are safe to be used with water. And that is what is important. Don't be buying something like selenite or malachite in paint. That is dangerous. So, nature-based art journals. This is an idea that comes from Morwenna. So, as you wander through the forest, you can carry a dedicated journal to document your thoughts, emotions, and any signs or symbols encountered in nature. Use this practice to gain clarity on personal goals and artistic aspirations. Dedicate a special journal for your reflections, creating a magical chronicle of your creative journey. Find a comfortable spot in the forest where you can sit and immerse yourself in the surroundings. Sketch or paint scenes, plants, or animals encountered during your forest walks. Let the peaceful ambiance guide your creative process, fostering a unique connection between your art and the natural world. The act of creating art in the midst of nature adds another layer to the experience, blending self-expression with the tranquility of the forest. Very much so, could also be used as a grounding exercise.
Now we can talk about using a canvas as an altar. This idea comes from S.L. Bear. Your completed painting is humming with magic and is ready to work for you. If you wish, you can activate your piece like you would a sigil, though obviously not in a way that would destroy it. I find that all energy that goes into creating it is enough to breathe life into the spell, but by all means experiment. Leave it outside under the full moon for a night or in the sunlight during high noon. Anoint it with oil, but if you sense it's complete, it's time to display it. These masterpiece spells should be displayed in your home in places of significance. I'm a firm believer that there are no rules. Each witch must find what works for them through experimentation, being mindful to journal their results. So I wouldn't say so while I wouldn't say your love spell must be hung above the bed, I will offer this suggestion. The more symbolism you can pack into your painting spell, location included, the better its energy is directed and the more you must reinforce your intent. Think of it like giving your spell directions so it knows exactly where to drive. There are no rules about what these symbols can or should be, although there are plenty of resources online if you need some inspiration. I just strongly suggest that making sure you they are there and they are important to you. After all, you created this magic and you will know best. Now show your spell respect. Just as you would decorate your altar, so should you add your power to your painting spell by giving it offerings. I like crystals and gree bags on the tops of my canvases and I pin gold ribbons to the corners. I inscribe runes on the back of the canvas and set up little fairy lights around the edges. As I work, I repeat my mantra and let my eyes wander around the canvas, meditating on bringing forth what I want from this painting and the positive effect it'll have on my life. I create altars out of my painting spells and feed them weekly by lighting incense and candles. If you don't want to display your painting on your walls for whatever reason, go ahead and add it to your established space for spell work, your altar. This can be a little bit more intimate for the protective witch who doesn't want their craft on display for everyone who walks into their home. Remember to experiment. The word painting can imply a larger work of art, but it can be the size of a tarot card and kept in your wallet, allowing you to bring the spell's power with you everywhere. This would be particularly useful for money spells or lucky little spells you want kept close, and they still can be added to altars for offerings or recharging when needed.
So we only have two book recommendations to kind of dive a little bit deeper. Art Magic by Molly Roberts and then Witchcrafts by Willow Polson. We will have everything linked from these witches that practice art magic down below so that you guys can go and read like more details because a lot of them had like different rituals in there, but we just kind of wanted to give you an overview. So yeah, it's actually quite easy to incorporate magic and art together, being that the basis of both things kind of come from the same part of your brain.
Now, let's get right into tarot time. Tarot time. Here we are for tarot time.
I already got one again.
Again, that's
Again.
crazy.
Oh, we have the chariot. Things are moving quickly. So the chariot is very much so about a forward moving action, whether that be something that you've been manifesting or it be something that you physically need to take action on, like something at work or a project or something that you've been wanting to kind of cultivate within yourself. It's going to start picking up pace and moving a lot more quickly. The chariot is also a really good sign if you have been casting money spells recently. Means that that's probably going to be coming in a little bit quicker than you were anticipating. But overall, the chariot is just about quick forward movement into the next phase of your life. Today, Mars and Gemini will conjunct Uranus and Gemini. Now is the time to go against the social norms and hit a streak of rebellion. Allow yourself to break free, but don't make impulsive decisions without weighing the risks, as it can cause you regrets later on. Tomorrow, Mars and Gemini will sextile with Neptune in Aries. This aspect will create a newfound sense of curiosity for society as a whole. Use this to your advantage to spark up interesting conversations with people at social gatherings that you probably wouldn't talk to in your everyday life. Then on the 6th, the Sun in Cancer will square Saturn in Aries. This isn't a great aspect, especially in the middle of Mercury retrograde. You are likely lacking motivation and willpower, but now is not the time to slack off. Just take projects a little slower than normal. On the 7th, Neptune goes retrograde in Aries. Now isn't the time to fantasize about power and success. Instead, try to make an actionable plan to reach your goals you have set. Be sure to evaluate your decisions because an unnecessary power trip will likely leave you with messes to clean up. Finally, on the 9th, Venus enters Virgo. Despite being in the middle of summer, which is known for spicy romance, this transition will allow you to evaluate your relationships. Don't become overly harsh with your intimate connections, but make sure you are also being treated how you deserve to be.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Sister Sister, a podcast for spiritual baddies. Be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, engage on our social channels, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.